Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this landscape of Global View. I am Professor Folakemi Odedina, and I have the honor and the pleasure of serving as the guest chief correspondent for Cancer Research Africa. I am so excited. And the reason I'm excited is that I have been able to get a lot of my colleagues who are funded and have very successful cancer research across the globe to really be part of the segment. So you are going to be learning about a lot. Grant writing, you are going to be learning about publishing, about mentoring, finding yourself a great mentor, about networking, about everything that is going to allow you to establish a successful research scholarship. Now, I have told my postdocs and my research fellows that they need to listen to this because this is not about cancer research in Africa alone. I think everybody across the globe can really learn from this particular segment. So what are we going to start from? And a lot of people have been asking me and making suggestions that should we start from mentoring? Should we start from publishing? But I always say, if you are going to be successful in research career, it's all about the money. It's all about show me the money. So our very first series of segments is really going to focus about grant writing. How can you get those grants? How can you research? How can you fund your work? How can you fund your research? So before I start bringing my esteemed and well-renowned colleagues, I'm going to start with about 3 sections that focuses on various things and lays the foundation for you to now start thinking about building and establishing a very successful research career. So without much ado, I'm going to share my screen. So let's get started. And I am going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is really talk about research scholarship. What, why, and how. And the learning objective for this segment is to really understand research scholarship concepts and approaches. And I've divided this into 3 segments. So first of all, what is academic expectations? What is expected from academics? The secondly is getting there. What is the process that you need to take to be able to get there? And finally, is going to be about the products. What are the products that really shows your academic excellence? So I want to start, and I think a lot of people that have listened to me really talk about research scholarship or talk about how to be very successful in academia, really have had me say this time and time and time again. One is integrity. For you to be very successful, you have to have integrity. You really need to be about setting up expectations about yourself and making sure those expectations that you have about yourself will earn you an outstanding reputation in your line of work. Secondly is the courage. You can't be successful without being courageous because there are going to be a lot of things, and I hate to say this, there are going to be a lot of things that will go wrong, and you can't help that. But you have to be courageous in such a way that even when you fall down, you can pick yourself up and you can keep moving. Lastly, you have to have perseverance. It is so important. Like I said, with courage really comes with really being persevering in everything that you do. And sometimes you're not going to get those grants. Sometimes those publications are going to be rejected. Sometimes those presentations are not going to be accepted. You cannot give up. You just need to pick yourself up and you need to keep going. So kind of put that at the back of your mind, that the things that you need and the things that you may want to work on about yourself is integrity, courage, and perseverance. Having those 3 in mind, what are academic expectations? Now, I am really traditional academician. I've been in academic institutions, universities. I've also been in a major research centers as well. I'm currently in a major research as well as clinical center, right? So those things may change depending on where you are. You could most probably be in a traditional university, or you could be in a teaching hospital, or you could be in a research center. These are sort of things that may be different. But overall, for you to be very successful, It's a contribution of new knowledge to advance a discipline or profession. That is simply what you think about it. What new knowledge are you contributing? And the key word is new knowledge. It's not going to present, going to conferences and looking at other people's ideas and making sure that you want to exactly do what they are doing. You know, you can build on what others are doing, but really, you really need to bring new knowledge, and that is very critical. And you are advancing your profession, or you are advancing your discipline. So what are those expectations that traditionally that you see? Number one, you have to excel in research. This research is what we are going to focus on for this segment. You really need to be able to excel in your line of work, in your either research or creative activities, including grant writing, peer-reviewed presentations, peer-reviewed publications, your ability to really be able to move your science forward in different areas. The other ones are teaching, service, or clinical care. Now, traditionally, at institutions in the United States, I'm not sure whether it's the same across different countries in Africa, but traditionally, you are supposed to excel in 3 areas, and people have those 3 areas outlined as part of the expectations that they have for their promotion and tenure. So it could be teaching, it could be service, it could be clinical care if you are a clinician. But as I said, we are going to be focusing on research. So what are faculty expectations? Scholarly accomplishments, typically, like I said, in 3 areas that are evaluated for promotion and tenure. Your record is really evaluated through significant and rigorous peer review processes, right? Through significant and rigorous peer review processes. For you to establish that you are outstanding, you have to be consistently reviewed by your peers. Whether it's the grant that you submitted that is going to get funded, it is going to be reviewed. Whether it's your publications, it is going to be reviewed. Whether it's presenting at a conference, it is going to be reviewed by peers. And this is kind of where you begin to really build yourself and build your representations in this line of work. Also, there are some criteria that is very well defined when you are thinking about your academic superiority, or when you're thinking about accruing tenure and making tenure or going on promotion. So this, like I said, I want to make sure that I have this disclaimer. You really have to understand your institution and what is expected of you at your institution. But overall, in general, there has to be evidence of productive and independent creative mind. Again, keyword, productive and independent creative mind. So what are your products? We're going to talk about that later on within this particular presentation. So what are the products that you have? What is independent? People really need to know, what are you adding? What is the independent thing that you are adding? Apart from being productive and independent creative mind, you also have to have very significant sustained contributions in your field. Right? You are building on your work, you are contributing to the field, and it is very well sustained. This is one area that I always talk to the people that I mentor, that you think about it. How do you have sustained contributions? One of it is for you to focus on an area, because if you're doing multiple things, it is very difficult to have sustained contribution in all those areas that you are. So I always encourage them, focus. What do you want to be known for? By the time you drop and then say, you know what, I'm done, I'm retiring, I'm good to go, I've contributed as much as I can, what would your name be synonymous with? What do you want to be known for, right? So that is the sustained contribution that you have to have. Your contributions and your academic contributions really need to be continuous and effective engagement in high quality, significant, innovative, and creative activity. Again, the boldest one, quality, it needs to be significant, it needs to be innovative. And innovation does not mean it's something that is brand new. You may bring innovation in the populations that you are studying. You may bring innovations in the methodology or the approach that you have. You may bring innovation in the ways that you are addressing the research questions. But you are not essentially just repeating what has been done in the literature, but you are bringing quality, significant, and innovation. And this takes time. A lot of people just kind of want to rush, publish things as fast as they can. And before you know it, they're publishing in low tier articles. It's just they're known for doing the same thing all over and all over again. No, academic superiority really shows quality in your work, really shows impact in your work, and really shows innovation in your work. Finally, one of the things that you need to focus on is concrete peer-reviewed accomplishment that is appropriate to your field of discipline. As I mentioned before, every piece of work that we do in research scholarship really is peer-reviewed. From your grants to your publications, to your presentations, to getting awards, they are all peer-reviewed. So just kind of think about this. What you need to think about for you to have academic superiority, productive, independent, creative mind, sustained contributions, high quality, significant, innovative work, and peer-reviewed work. That is those things that you need to think about. Let's go to the second one. How do I get there? How do I do this? How do I begin? So you may be somebody who is just getting started. You may be a graduate student, you might be a postdoctoral fellow, or you might be an early stage investigator, or you may actually be about 20 or 30 years in your career and you're feeling, maybe I'm not there yet. How do I get there? How do I begin to build this scholarship that will really be something that will make me to be recognized? So what do you need to do so? It takes time. Progressively conceptualizing and pursuing areas of your research. Keyword, progressively. Progressively, you are not going to really develop yourself in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years. I have been in academia for almost 30 years. And I've been conducting research for almost 30 years, right? And you have to be progressive. You have to really see that line of work. So as the saying usually goes, Rome was not built in a day. It's having that progressive way, making sure that you have a building block that is building on what you're doing. You have to manage your time. You have to manage your time. You can't say yes to everything. Let no and all be your friend. It is the key to sustain your research, because if you keep saying yes to everything, if you have to treat time like a currency, which it is a currency. So when you are giving your time away, know that you are taking currency from what you are and putting it somewhere else. And that is currency that you are losing. So you have to learn to manage your time. You have to establish and sustain respected reputation in your field. This is very critical. Your work has to be sustainable and your work has to be respected. If it's not respected, if it's not sustainable, then what is the use, right? So that is very important for you to kind of think about. And then you have to focus on establishing and sustaining a reputable record. I always think with every work that I'm doing, and I share this with my lab, every work that I am doing, I always think to myself, am I putting my best foot forward, right? If I'm not going to submit that grant. If I'm not going to submit that publications. If I'm not going to submit that abstract, because I really do not want my name to be linked to something that is of low quality. So establishing and sustaining a reputable collection is good. Really quick tips, right? Really quick tips. And this is something that I usually share with everyone that I mentor. Number one, identify your long-term goal. I always say this, if you don't have a roadmap and you don't know where you're going to, how are you going to get there, right? How are you going to get there? If I set up from my office and I'm saying I'm going somewhere, I have a point that I'm going to. Your long-term goal is that point. Your long-term goal is when you'd say, I am retiring, what have I achieved? That's your long-term goal. That is what you want to be seen in achieving. Once you establish your long-term goal, then you work progressively, building on your work, building on your project towards that long-term goal, right? It's like saying I'm going to my office and I'm going to my house. I already have a roadmap of where I'm going to take. There are multiple roads, but I know the shortest cut. And so I'm going to take my car and I'm going to try driving using the shortest route for me to get there. That is what you have with your long-term goal. You have a goal of where you're going, you have a goal of what you want to achieve, and you're progressively going there. And make sure that your work is innovative, high impact, high quality, and sustainable. I already mentioned this. You will see these keywords coming out. Even with the presentations and the experts that we are bringing on, they're going to be telling you exactly the same thing. Innovation, impact, high quality, sustainable. And that's kind of what you want to think about. Publications. Publish, 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 but don't publish a mess. Make sure that you are publishing something that is really of high quality. For some fields, it takes time to gather the data. It takes time to really do the analysis, especially if you're a community engaged researcher. It takes time because you have to work with the community to get those data out. But always make sure that you are getting your data dissemination. Time management and setting priorities, really key. I talked about this. Balance time for all your activities. Consider designating research days. I have 2 days that are designated as my research days. And everybody knows, if you put a meeting time with those 2 days, I'm going to reject the meeting, because I'm very well funded. The funding agencies that are funding me expect me to do the work that I'm supposed to do, and I cannot do those work if I don't have designated time to do those work. So everybody around me knows there are 2 particular days, Monday and Tuesday, that I set up to do my research. So if you put meetings on those days, I'm sorry, I just can't attend the meeting because I have to do my research. Always have a plan, long-term plan. For example, create a 5-year plan for yourself, focus on specific goals. Then once you have this 5-year plan, have a 2-year plan, and then have a 1-year plan. So you can say to yourself, well, by the time it's like 2 or 2.5 years, I should be halfway to the plan that I have. So that way you're setting goals that you can do. Have a research agenda and protect it. What is your research agenda? What do you want to achieve? Where are you going? My research agenda has remained the same as long as I have been in academia. It has always been about addressing health disparities. It has always been that. The first few years, I was addressing disparities by looking at how can providers change their behavior. And then to me, I saw it was much more important to focus on patients and to focus on participants. And I started looking at, for about 25 years, how can the community be empowered? How can the individual change their behavior? How can I address prostate cancer in Black men globally? It has never changed for a lot of years. So have that research agenda and keep working towards that research agenda. Be very comfortable in saying no. It is okay to be selfish with your time. Remember what I said, your time, just think about it as a currency. You think about how much you have in your bank account. Every time you're withdrawing money from your bank account is getting lower. Your time, every time you are giving it out to people, it is getting lower. And you have to kind of think about your time that way. You have to focus on where you want to take your reputation. So you might be, I want to take my reputation nationally. Then start doing things within your country that really will take you there. Publishing in journals that are well seen, presenting, being nominated and having people nominate you for award, being on a good platform, getting grants. Those are things that will. Or you might want to have international reputation. It is the same way. Then you have to put yourself up at the international world. There are going to be outstanding people who are going to come here and talk about mentoring and talk about how to build a really significant network. I'm going to tell you, I always say this, your network is your net worth. I would not be able to put this segment for Cancer Research Africa together if I didn't have a significant network that I can bring onto this platform, who we actually see ourselves as a family that addresses global cancer health disparities. And so when I call on them, I can easily ask them to do something for me. They might be busy at that time, but they never say no. Likewise, if they call on me, I could not say no. It might not be a time that I can do it, but I would always do it, right? So you have to build that network, and building that network starts from now. Look around you. The people that you see around you right now, you never know how you're going to need them in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So start building that network right now. Seize the opportunities to present and attend meetings. I've already talked about publication. Don't do what I do, and I'm going to be very honest with you. Sometimes I don't build my CV for months and months and months, and then I am asked, we need the latest version of your CV. It's like, oh wow, okay. Now it's going to take me one day to be able to update my CV. If possible, try to build your CV on a monthly basis, or even on a every other week basis, so that if you've done something, just drop it in your CV. It's really easiest way for you to build your CV. And I'm trying, but I can tell you, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not there. My time, I get so busy, I sometimes forget, and it's like 6 months down the road, it's like, whoa, I gotta build my CV. But try to do your CV. Finally, I'm going to talk about the products. So what are the products? Peer review activities, publication, reviewed work of arts if you're not in science, reviews public performance if you're not in science, exhibitions, participation in conferences, conventions, seminars, and professional meetings, participation in grant or journal articles, serving on research committees or on editorial board, research in progress. They may not be funded. So even if you don't have any current funding, can you do some level of research right now that will give you preliminary data to be able to go for grant funding? Do that literature review, be aware of the current research developments that is around. Conferences are great ways to actually be aware of the current research developments, but also read the literature as well, comprehensive literature review. Be a member of association organizations, which will allow you to have professional recognition to faculty and recognition to your university. Professional consultation, when you have the opportunities to consult on some things, that is really a great way for you to be well known. Use of sabbatical leaves and leaves of absences. I mean, I have a number of friends who really are outstanding scientists, and I've never taken sabbatical. I just do not understand it. I've taken sabbatical once, but I've taken leaves of absences 2 or 3 times in my career, because it really gives you an opportunity to shut out all the noise and focus on your research. It's very critical. And I always tell my colleagues, especially the ones in academic institutions, that if you don't use your sabbatical, you're really literally giving away an opportunity for you to really have a jump start into things. My sabbatical has really been very helpful for me. My first sabbatical that I took, I was a Fulbright scholar in Nigeria. It really helped me with my global cancer research work. My second leave of absence that I took, I went to multiple institutions, again, in Nigeria through the Carnegie African Diaspora to be able to do a lot of work in cancer research. A third one that I took, I was at University of Cape Town, working in the area of clinical trials. So these sabbaticals and leaves of absences are really great for professional development. Scholarly recognitions as well, some of the products, awards, scholarly citations, public lectures, book reviews, writing a book. Those are other things that you can. Final thought, I'm going to end by, again, talking about the importance of integrity, courage, and perseverance. It really has been great to give you just a little bit of some golden nuggets and some summaries of what you're going to be seeing with this particular segment. And at this point in time, I'm happy to answer any questions that may come my way. Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing your presentation with us. I learned a lot of things, and I actually have a couple of questions that I would like to ask you just to pick your brain a little bit more, although you did do an amazing job with explaining your PowerPoint down to a T. Now, you did mention courage, perseverance, and integrity being the 3 important things. Can you actually expand a little bit more on why courage, perseverance, and integrity are very, very important?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So number 1 is integrity. I always say, you really, in scholarship, you are who people perceive you to be. And sometimes you don't get a second chance to make a good impression. So it's very important that your name is very synonymous with great things, with quality, with integrity. Unfortunately, in the area of research scholarship, some people are well known for, oh, wow, that person steals other people's work, or that person really did not have anything original. They are always taking other people's work, or the work that they are doing is not responsive to the community, or it does not value the community, or is not engaging the community, especially when you are in the area of health equity. So that integrity is really very key. You really be somebody that is very well respected, that you are doing the right thing. You are doing the right thing for research. You are doing the right thing for the populations that you are researching. Secondly, courage. We are in a field that your publications is going to get rejected, your grant is going to get rejected, your presentations may not be accepted. And it hurts. Even for me at this stage, and I'm highly successful in a lot of things, and people think, oh, your grants doesn't get rejected. That's a lie. My grants sometimes does still get rejected. And you can take it personally sometimes, because you literally, to submit a grant, you might have spend 6 months working on that grant. And for it to be rejected, it's just a hit to you. It's just a deflection on you. But you have to have the courage to separate that work that wasn't funded from you, right? It does not mean that you are not good. It means that maybe the reviewers did not like that particular one. And we're going to be talking about reviewers and reviewing and how to write to please the reviewers in a minute. So you have to have the courage to separate those two and just say, this is not about me. I'm not going to let it shut me down. Okay, let me take a look at the reviews. Let me see what I can do better. And of course, the last one is you have to have perseverance. You have to keep going back. You cannot let things knock you out and you fall on your face. I'll usually say this, and a lot of people know that I have a lot of shoes, because rejection means I'm buying shoes. I'm just going to make myself feel better. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to resubmit that grant while I'm wearing my beautiful pairs of shoes, right? To make me feel good. But you have to go back. You can't let that impact you.
Now, our next question, relative to the faculty expectations. Now, is there a difference between the expectations with PhDs and the expectations with MDs?
That's a great question. So typically, if there are MDs that are practicing, the clinical care is sometimes one of the huge areas that they have. And so they want to be, if you want to be a clinician scientist, you still have to take care of patients. So they may not be able to devote as much time to research as PhDs do. Although we do have MD PhDs who have the combination of both. So the level or the intensity of the research might be a little bit different. And so with the MDs focusing more on the patient care first, and then they are also doing research. It might be research that is part of their practice and to be clinician position, but if it's strictly MD, the research and the scholarship is really the number one on their plate. They might do teaching, they might do service, but the number one thing is research. So you see a little bit of differences and dichotomy between the two.
Perfect. And thank you so much for furthering explaining that. Now, lastly, you did mention that time management is a common struggle, which it is, even outside of the academia field. Now, can you give us some tips and pointers on how you can do better on time management?
No, just say no. That is so key. I think I see a lot of early stage investigators that they just do not know how to say no, and they really bury themselves in all this work, that may not contribute to their excellence. And I really see this a lot, especially with people who have ties to the community that they are working in, because you really want to do the best for your community. And when the community calls, you have to be there. But you have to have some level of expectations, and you really need to, even when you're working with people in the community, just like the community gives you some level of expectations, you have to give the community some level of expectations. The people that I work with within the community, they know very well. I always let them know that, yes, I want to spend as much time as I can with the work and the project that we're doing in the community. But I let them understand that the only way that I can get money to bring back to the community to do this work is if I write grants. So I always joke and say, you know what? I may not see you for the next several weeks. I'm going to be in my cave writing grants. And they know already, they have those expectations. If there's anything urgent, they know they can always reach out to other people within my lab, but you have to learn to say no. There is a tendency to really be bombarded, especially early on, to be on committees, to be on different services, but that is not going to help you to be the best. So learning to say no is really very important. Learning to keep your focus, learning to have specific days for things, right? When, for me in teaching, doing research and in teaching, I would say this is the so many hours I'm going to spend on teaching. And in being able to do that, spending those hours on teaching, that's the time that I have. Anything outside that, I cannot do that, right? And then I would say, these are my research days. And I'm not going to let anything interrupt my research days, except when it's significant, right? When it's urgent. But if outside that, no meetings on my research days, I'm going to do it. Like I said in the presentation, treat your time like currency. Start thinking about it as if it's money. So that's the best way to do it.
That was perfect. That's definitely a piece of advice that I'm going to take with me, even though I'm not in the academia field, into my career. Dr. Odedina, thank you so much for joining us. There you have it, guys. We have the best of the best giving the ultimate tips with academia, grant writing, and scholarship. And this is just the very, very beginning. Now, if any of you have additional questions for us, go ahead and email us at cancerresearchafrica@outlook.com. I'll go ahead and put the email address on the screen so you have a visual of that. Once again, Dr. Odedina, thank you so much for sharing your amazing PowerPoint. We've learned so much today, and we cannot wait to continue learning all these tricks and tips within grant writing and academic scholarship.
Thank you so much. It's just a pleasure to be, guest anchor for this program. I just want to remind everybody, all the PowerPoints are going to be available free for those who subscribe to the Cancer Research Africa podcast, the YouTube channel, and you can just sort of email Cancer Research Africa to get it, and with proof that you have subscribed, of course.
Yes, go ahead and take a screenshot that you have subscribed and email us at the same email, cancerresearchafrica@outlook.com, and we will go ahead and send you the PowerPoint slides yourself, so you can go ahead and take a look. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bye.